So we get a headshot on the guy in the window. We're going to push really hard here because we have nades. We have a shotgun. They're a man down. Time to push.
He's in this window, small window.
We get him again in the window, so we're going to push hard with our nade here and toss it in. We're going to hide behind this cover, wait for the nade to go off so it doesn't bleed us, get the teammate again, push up really hard, get a tag on his teammate, peek him again here. We don't see him. We go for the fake nade, but he comes out more quickly than we hoped. So we go for the oil there to try and light him up. Instead, he comes around, easy crouch, get the shot off first, get the W. So here you see my duo partner and I going up against a trio. I get one down and immediately pull out a nade to keep the pressure on. He goes for a burn. They do get a res off, but I'll let you see how I keep the pressure on and win this fight.
You burned the other?
Yeah, I burned the first one.
It's 2v1.
What up, gamers? Welcome into today's video where I'm going to be sharing with you game-changing tips for Hunt Showdown that are going to help you dominate the Bayou. These are going to help you win more fights, win more games, get out with a bounty more, make more money, all the things you want to do in Hunt Showdown. This video will show you exactly how to do that. So for the intro, I wanted to give you a little taste, that first minute there, of how this video is going to be formatted. I've compiled a ton of clips over my time playing Hunt Showdown ever since 2018. I've been playing since day one of early access release, and I've really curated today's video to have some of the best clips that really show off the tips that I want to share with you guys today. So that's how the video will be formatted. I'll be giving a tip and then showing clips, walking through them. This is going to be really high level stuff. I know a lot of you have shared with me that my solo guides and other content I've produced really helps you to play the game different. It really does change how you play the game, and that's why these are game-changing tips. I don't see these things talked about too much. This is not going to be a typical top 10 tips, top 20 tips in Hunt Showdown video. There's a lot of those out there, but for this, I want to go really deep and give you guys as much value as I possibly can, walk through these fights and show you exactly what I'm thinking and how that can translate to your game. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I don't want to spend too much time in the intro here. Just wanted to give you some context. I have timestamped the video, so if you want to come back to it ever, you can look down below. You'll see those timestamps, get to the tip you need to reference again quickly, and really just get as much out of this video as you possibly can over the course of time. And that is my hope for you guys, that you would just continue to reference this, come back to it, use it when you need a little inspiration in the game, use it when you're just feeling like you're stuck or in a rut. And it really does mean so much to me when you guys share those things with me. I notice all the comments. I try and reply as much as I can. Sorry if I've missed any of them, but it really does mean so much when I hear you guys talk about how my content has helped you play the game better, win more fights, win more games, stay alive more, and just have more fun. So it really does mean a lot. Thank you guys so much. If you like this one, be sure to drop a like, guys, and also send it to somebody who you think will enjoy it. Maybe somebody who hasn't played the game. We'd love to get more players into the game. Maybe send this their way. It'll be a good introduction for them, or even a seasoned veteran. This will have something for everyone, your duo partner, your trios partners, whoever it is, send it their way. I'd love to get as many people seeing this as possible so that we can get the most value to everybody in the Bayou, guys. And that's going to do it for this intro. I know I'm just yapping at this point. So again, gamers, sit back, relax, drop a like, be sure to share this, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thank you for those of you who have. And again, guys, sit back, relax, and let's get into our first game-changing Hunt Showdown tip that will help you dominate the Bayou. All right, gamers, into our first tip here. We're going to be starting in the settings menu, which I know is not the most exciting place to start, but this first tip is going to be really foundational to some of the other things we're going to talk about in this video. And I really haven't seen very many people talk about what I'm about to share. And I do really think it can elevate your game, help you to make decisions much more quickly, and just be a lot more confident in a fight. So let's just get right into it. We're going to head up to our settings here, go to controls, and one little bonus one I'll highlight first is auto move. If you toggle this on, what that allows you to do is triple tap W, your move forward key, and that'll just allow you to literally auto run across the map. So it'll just cause you to start sprinting and you'll just auto run across the map, which is really cool. You can, take a drink, you can have your map open, you can do other things while you're just going. Really nice for after games, stuff like that, or maybe you've got the bounty or the whole server's gone, or you're just kind of chilling, whatever. It's just a really nice thing to toggle on. So that's just one cool thing I wanted to share, but this is the real meat and potatoes of this. So we're going to go into mouse and keyboard settings, and I'm going to come down here and show you guys what I've mapped out. So you have here, you're going to see my primary weapon is on my 1 key. My secondary weapon is on my 2 key. And I'll explain this more. I'll go into the shooting range so you guys can visualize it. But basically my primary, I always have a close range weapon. So let's just call it a shotgun just for the sake of this. Keep it quick, keep it easy. We have a shotgun, okay? That's our close range weapon. It could be a melee weapon, a katana, whatever. But we've got our shotgun in our 1 slot. And basically the 1 to me is it's closer to me. It's 1, it's a smaller number, therefore it's a shorter distance that the weapon is effective. It's 1, that's how my brain works. 2 would be a larger number, longer distance. So we're going to put a rifle in that slot, a pistol, whatever hits at a longer distance than my 1 slot, I'm putting that in 2. And what that allows me to do is just really quickly in a fight, if you switch to your weapons, it doesn't always give you the exact one you want. You might have to switch back. So if you're in the middle of a fight and you have a tool out or a consumable, you switch to your weapons, maybe use Q or whatever, it doesn't always give you the one you want. But you know for sure you're going to get the one you want if you set these hotkeys. And it's the exact same thing for all of my tools and all of my consumables. I've set all of these up so I know exactly, and I've set my loadouts up too, which is another thing you want to do. I've set my loadouts up so I know exactly where all these things are in my loadout every single time I play a game. So my tool 1 every single time is my knife. Tool 2 every single time is my first aid. So I know mouse 4, I click that, I've got my knife. I click mouse 5, which is just the side buttons on my mouse. Click that, I've got my first aid. My C tool is always either a spear or an axe, or if I don't bring a melee tool like that in, it will always be my flare pistol, something like that. 5 is always my fake nades. 3 is heals. 4 is a grenade. 6 is kind of a miscellaneous. It changes around, usually a stam shot. And then I think this is tilde. I think that's what it's called. That's where I keep my regen. So, but anyway, the point of me going down that is I just know that from complete memory because I do this every single time. It's the same. So I'm going to hop into the shooting range and kind of show you why this is so helpful, why it's so important. And the other thing really quickly that I know a lot of people for sure have talked about this one, but just so that we cover it here as well, in case you don't know about it, you want to come into, where is it at? Right here. You want to come into your jump vault and you definitely want to separate these. So right now I have my space as my jump, obviously you see there, and caps lock is my vault. And I can explain that in shooting range as well, but that just allows you to not get stuck in the vault animation. And also a lot of these fences and windows, doors, things of that nature, you can actually go through them with just a jump. You don't have to vault everything. There's plenty of fences you can just jump over. There's plenty of things you can just jump onto. You don't get locked in an animation. You don't get stuck in anything. You can still look around. It's just so much better, and you have even more freedom and control over what your hunter is doing. So anyway, enough talking. Let's get into the shooting range and I'll kind of show you exactly what I'm talking about here. All right, here we are in the shooting range. And the first thing I want to show off really quick is just that auto move I was telling you about. So I'm going to be quiet really quick. Maybe you guys will hear me triple tap, maybe you won't, but let's try and see if you hear. Okay, I don't know if you heard that or not, but I just triple tapped my W and immediately took off. Now I can open my map. I'll zoom in here. You can see that I'm still moving. My hands are off the keyboard. My hands are off the mouse. I'm just cooking. I'm moving across the map. It's really nice. Then I can just whip around. I don't have to hit anything. I'm not holding anything. I'm not holding W. Don't have to do anything. I can just move. So that's just a really nice, again, accessibility, ease of use feature. You got the bounty, you're running, or you're chasing somebody maybe, and it's just like you and this team left, and you just want to like take a drink or do whatever. Like, it's just a nice little accessibility thing. Now, the second thing I want to highlight really quick before we get into kind of the loadout stuff is that let's use this as an example. I just told you to separate your vault and your jump. So I use space and caps lock. You can use whatever you want, but let's say you're fighting somebody right here. They're hiding behind this. Maybe you got a tag on them. Maybe they got a tag on you. You're kind of playing this dance. You know, we've all done this in Hunt, a lot of this stuff, a lot of crouching, whatever. Let's say you just want to push him. So you come up here and you vault, right? Now you're stuck in that animation for nearly a second before you can ready up your gun and even get a shot off on him. I'll do it again. You're stuck for literally almost a second. It's not great. But let's say instead, you just run up here, jump, and immediately you got your gun out. Immediately. Okay, and there's so many examples of stuff just like this. I mean, even this thing. You know, you can vault over it, you're stuck, maybe somebody's right here, or you can just kind of come up here and just jump. Well, I didn't really jump, but you kind of get the idea. Like, you can just always have your gun ready, and that's the point. So we just run up like this, boom, jump, and we're in it. And it's the same thing with like windows, with, you know, fence posts, all kinds of stuff you can just jump over. You don't have to vault over a lot of things in this game. Now, actually, you know what? I'll save that for later. But yeah, I'm going to get into the loadout stuff. So let's go over here and kind of act as though we're in a fight. I'll come to these guys, and like I was telling you guys, I always have my weapons and my tools and consumables on the exact same hotkey. Highly encourage you to do the same. If you want to use mine, feel free to just go pause the video. You can copy mine. I think it works pretty well, makes a lot of sense, but whatever works for you guys is going to be best for you, obviously. But let's say I'm in a fight here. I'm pushing these guys. I get tagged or something. I want to push them. I need my shotgun, right? Boom, one, shotgun. Got my shotgun out. Okay, now I want to take some space. Okay, they're shooting me, I'm dodging, whatever. Boom, rifle, got it out with 2. And obviously this is like not the greatest example because just switching weapons, you can just use Q. However, let's say that I just got one down and I want to burn really quickly. Maybe I'm on this corner or something. Okay, I shoot him, boom. C is my flare pistol, I know that, boom, he's burned and I'm taking space. And you just kind of see how quickly everything can happen there. Rather than like, okay, let's reload. Rather than like, okay, we shoot him. Okay, now I got to scroll wheel down. Oh, I missed it. Okay, now we're here. Boom. And he's back up. You know, I mean, obviously he's not really back up in the game, but I'm just saying like the fact that the dummy can get back up before I can even get a flare on him, like that's not good. You know what I mean? So like this is just a great way to be super fast in fights. Okay, another example. Let's say that I'm right here. Maybe I'm a solo, okay? Let's say there's a team like here, they're pursuing me, okay? So I'm running. They get a tag on me, shoot. I got to pull out my heals. Boom. I immediately know where they are, okay? Let's say they've got a Sparks, all right? I'm running. I get tagged here. Boom. 3. Vit shot, okay? I can immediately take that. As I'm going up the stairs and they're pushing me, I'm right back in the fight. Or even better, let's say they're doing the same thing. They get a tag on me. I go, oh, shoot, I'm going to take space. 5. Decoy fuses, whip around, drop one on. Maybe they push me. 1, shotgun, done. You know what I mean? It's just like that, dude. And then, okay, let's just play that fight out even more. Let's say I get somebody right here. The teammate backs off. Oh, no you don't, bud. Get out the frag with 4, cook it a little bit, drop it on him. It's over. I mean, just like that. And I'm telling you in this video, there's plenty of examples of me doing that exact thing to teams where they're pushing me, whatever, and I can just use my hotkeys to so quickly, you know, just get stuff out that I need and just take action really quick. It's like an old real-time strategy game. Like, your actions per minute. I don't know if anybody ever played those, but like that was a big thing. The faster you can do things in those types of games, the more likely it is you're going to win. The person doing more is probably going to win. Now, that's not necessarily the case for Hunt, but it can ring true in a lot of instances and in a lot of fights. So those are just a few things I really wanted to highlight, but the biggest one is the hotkeys, guys. I'm telling you, it'll make a massive difference. It might take you a minute to get used to, but it is completely worth it. And I'm going to jump into my loadout screen now just to kind of cap this off and show you guys kind of how I set that all up. But I'm telling you guys, this literally will be game changing for you. So let's hop into my loadouts and I'll show you guys that. So here we are in my loadout screen, and you'll see here I have one called T&C, and that just stands for tools and consumables. And that's how I've set this up so that I can just really quickly, like maybe I want to run something a little different than I would normally run. So I've just got my tools and consumables ready to go at all times. And all these slots are completely laid out to coincide with my hotkeys. So if I come out here, you'll see you've got tool 1, which is my bottom mouse, tool 2, top mouse, flare pistol, C, fake nades, 5. So it's tool 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see that if you come up into your settings, like we showed you earlier. You got consumable 1, which is my 3 slot, always a vit shot. Well, you know, not if I pick something else up, but you know what I'm saying. Bringing it into the game, always a vit shot. 4, always a frag bomb. 6, always a stam or something like that. And then tilde, always a regen shot, almost exclusively. So that's just a really quick kind of rundown of how I set up that loadout. And again, I think these 2 things, or I guess it's like 3 things, but especially the hotkeys and setting up your loadout, it's going to save you so much time, not only in the menu, but also just help you to make quicker decisions in fights and win a lot more fights just because you're saving a second or 2 here and there. Just like the jump vault thing, same thing. You're saving a second, but a second is so much in this game. So speaking of loadouts, that's actually going to tie really well into our next tip. So let's get right on into that right now. So for this next tip, consider your loadout. We're going to be walking through some different fights. I'm going to show you some gameplay and then talk you through my thought process and talk you through these fights and kind of how it all plays out and how I'm using my loadout, just like I did in the intro. But before I do that really quick, we're going to walk through 3 different loadouts that I've set up here, just so you can kind of understand what I mean when I say consider your loadout, because it's not just the weapons you're bringing, you know, your favorites, anything like that. It's everything complementing each other in your loadout, your traits, your tools, your consumables, your weapons, everything. So for example, here we have the katana. Okay, so that is a melee weapon. You have to get really up close and personal with that. And you don't have a whole lot of, like, that's all it can do. You just got to get right up in somebody's face. That's the only thing it can do. So to balance that, we're going to bring in something that shoots really fast, can play long range as well as medium range. That way, what do we have here? We have short range, we have medium range, and we have long range with our Cyclone. And this thing shoots really fast, and it can penetrate through walls with medium ammo. Not going to give you great damage, but it gives you something there. You can still headshot people. So you kind of have your bases covered there, right? Then we have our default tools and consumables. Nothing really needs to change here. This is kind of a brawler loadout, so I really like the decoy fuses with this, as well as the flare pistol. If you get somebody down, burn them really quickly. All this is fine. You know, this is kind of default. Same with this, same kind of thing. It's very brawler loadout. Nothing really to consider here with this, but you really want to consider your traits. So what's something you might want to bring if you're going to use a katana that kind of relies on the martialist trait a lot? You want Whispersmith, so people can't hear you. Ready up your katana. It's the same thing with the bomb lance. You know, it's like that is such a huge thing, and it's one trait to bring. Such a huge thing with weapons like the bomb lance that are so loud. You can really get the drop on somebody if they don't know that you're pulling that out and that you're readying that up. Same thing with Silent Killer. You ready up your katana. Maybe you don't have martialist. You ready up your katana. It's very loud. People are going to know what you're doing if they're listening. But if you have Silent Killer, they're going to have no idea. So that's kind of one example, just a very basic example of how your traits really need to complement your weapon choices. Now, moving on, we've got a sniper, and I've decided to bring in the haymaker with it. Now, the reason I really like this is because you obviously have super long range covered. You also have a shotgun on your haymaker, just a one shot, but you've got something there for your short range. And then you have a nice medium range option that hits super hard with the haymaker. So that kind of covers all your bases. Now you could do something like a quartermaster, just a straight up shotgun build. You could maybe bring slugs, something like that. That could also be pretty good. You'd have long range and like a medium / close range option. Maybe something with slugs like the Crown or the Spectre or something like that could also work really well here. But that's also the reason I like bringing the throwing spear, though, is that this is just another close range option. So yeah, you only have the one shot on the haymaker, but man, you bring something like the spear in, this is literally a shotgun, guys. Like, I'm sure many of you know this. This is just another shotgun. And if I have it like we talked about in our first tip, you have this thing hotkeyed on C, it's just like pulling out a weapon. I mean, sure, it doesn't penetrate, but as far as just close range fights, this thing shreds, and I'll be showing that in this video as well. Maybe you want to bring something like alert trip mines because you are doing sniping. So maybe you want some sort of trip mines here. You're really not brawling. You're really not going to be in super close range combat with the sniper. Don't really need decoys or anything like that. Don't really need to burn people because you're so far away. So maybe you want to set up on a roof and get some alert mines on barrels around you or bear traps or whatever. That's kind of the thought process behind the traps. Now, maybe also you're playing solo, or maybe you could be on a team too. Maybe they get a nice headshot on you and they're going to start pushing you. You can recover, you can get necro or something like that. Use a recovery shot, get your health back immediately, and you're back in the fight. Beetle, get some intel. You can throw that from long range. You can burn bars off of people, make it easier to snipe them from long range. Obviously, ammo box, just so you can kind of stay stationary. And then a regen shot for more health, just a nice default thing, just to give you a lot more options for health. And again, for something like a scope, you want to bring Scopesmith. You want to bring steady aim. You want to make sure you're bringing these traits that are really complementing your loadout. Make sure you're considering your weapons when you're selecting your traits. Obviously, you're going to have your ones that you go with first, maybe Necro. Like for me, Necro's an auto pick, playing with duos or whatever the case may be. But after that, you really want to go weapon specific and niche down so you can be as effective with your loadout as possible. Now, last, we'll go to something I really enjoy running. I'll typically use a Spark Silent, but you can just use a regular one as well if you don't care about Silent. But again, similar to the Katana, we've got, Katana is obviously not a rifle, but this is a single shot thing, just like the Katana is kind of a single use weapon. You get a slice, that's all you can really do with it. Sparks, you got one shot. you know, you got one shot and then you're kind of out of luck. Unless, of course, we're bringing in fast fingers, okay? But if you bring in a quick firing pistol, let's say something like a Spitfire, a Dolch, obviously really good, Bornheim, super classic hunt loadout there, that combo, great combo. These things really pair well with each other because you have a nice medium and fairly close range option. You got a super long range option that hits crazy hard. And again, we're going to be bringing in something like the spear or the throwing axe to be that ultimate short range option. You know, we got medium here, we got long here, we got short here. You know, we've got everything kind of covered here. Again, tools and consumables, you can kind of like whatever you like to run is kind of going to what's going to work best here, except for something like this. You know, I think it is important to bring these types of things in a sniping loadout. But again, you can kind of leave that up to yourself to decide what works best for you here. But this is something really good to take if you're going to have, again, medium, long, short range. You're covering all your bases. Any kind of fight you get in Hunt Showdown, these loadouts are going to have you covered. Now, of course, Sparks, like I said, you have fast fingers. So you can pair that with your Sparks. It suddenly becomes a much more viable option. You're not just single shot, one and done, got to run away. You can stay in fights a lot more. So it's something to consider bringing in at the forefront. Then maybe you want to, I love using Surefoot with something that's more single shot because you can take a shot and maybe you get tagged and while you're running, you can heal really quick and reload and you're right back in the fight. So again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. We've already spent enough. I want to get into gameplay, so we'll do that right now. But I just wanted to give a quick overview of what I mean when I say consider your loadout. So anyway, guys, I hope that was helpful. Let's get into some gameplay. I'm going to walk you through some fights, and we'll get into that right now. So for this first fight, we got a 2v1 here. Unfortunately, I'm a little out of my range on my steel ball there, but we quickly switch to our Centennial Silent, get the medium range cleanup. Now, there's one hiding behind this rock, so we're going to use part of our loadout, our nade, to draw them out here. And I haven't reloaded my bomb lance yet, so I got to go for the headshot here. I barely miss it, but fortunately, we use this rock as cover. They miss their shots. We get the cleanup, get the win, get the res. So for this next clip, we've got an example of how to use your tools really effectively. I always bring in flare pistol. You see me noticing this barrel here. We got a 2v1. I'm playing medium range. The guy is right around here. I hear him running around. I think to myself, I'm going to use this barrel. Instead, I hear him running up, so I go for the medium range tag, but I see that he runs behind this, and then so here we've got my teammate and I pushing a boss lair. We've taken one of them out. They're playing really slow, really hold up in here. I have to take it a little slow as well. So I'm going to push in here. You're going to see me miss these 2 shotgun shots, but I'm going to use my hotkeys, tap C, get my spear out, and finish the fight just like that. Another great example of using everything at your disposal here. Here we've got a 2v1. My teammate and I are up. We're guarding this body because this guy is right outside this fence. I push up with my shotgun, but the first shot doesn't kill him. So rather than panicking, use my hotkey, get my knuckle knife, rush him, and kill him. This is an example of how to bring in a really balanced loadout like we talked about in the beginning, and also how to have the right consumable at the right time. We get a really nice headshot with our Silent Centennial. Now we're going to push super hard. We know there's a guy up above us and he's necroing his teammate right now. So we're going to get out our shotgun, but we need to take care of the guy up top at the same time. We're going to get out a nade to do that. The teammate just got res, we saw it. So we have our shotgun already ready, and then the nade does the rest of the work for us. This last one is an example of how to use everything in your arsenal. We've gotten a kill on the guy in the boss lair, one of the teammates. I had a beetle that I brought in with me, so I use it hoping to just cause some chaos, maybe put a little fear into this guy, but we actually end up timing it perfectly. We get the teammate down again, and once again, we have the advantage in the fight while we rush into the boss lair. So the next thing I want to talk about here is movement, and I really want to specifically point out that you should be moving smart and moving fast. So moving smart basically just means going slow when you need to, but not all the time. So I kind of want to walk through how I would start a game, because this is the most important movement phase in Hunt, is very early game. So I pretty much always bring a stam shot. So we've got that with us, but we're not going to pop it just yet because it's kind of unnecessary to do until we actually run out of stamina or until we get the lung icon. So here's an example of me not being too worried if I pop these birds off. It's still early enough game that I'm not super concerned. Now, of course, there could be spawns. There could be a team that spawns like over here, something like that. But usually I'm not super worried about popping anything off like that in the early game. Okay, so you see that our lung icon just popped. That means we're going to start moving slower. That's when we take our stam shot just to get the most out of it. It's just like getting a little, 30 seconds or a minute more out of your stamp shot, which is nice. So we're going to prioritize the double clue here at Reeker, and we're just going to see how quickly we can find out where the boss is. There's also a couple of jump spots here, but we'll probably touch on that a little bit later. I might even do a specific jump spot video for you guys, but I'll probably highlight a few of them in this section of the tip video here in the movement section. So we got 2 clues. We know it's kind of pushing up here. So I'm just going to go to Daryl right now just to grab it. And we're also going to be thinking about, I did that frame perfect jump right there, by the way. That's one thing you can do when you're moving in water. Okay, so this is an example. Sorry, my thoughts are moving around a lot. But I'm walking by these birds. That's an example of moving smart. And now we're going to start sprinting again. So it's just about knowing the ranges, too, of how far these AI can proc. Like, you actually have quite a distance here. Like, you can walk pretty close to these things without them going off. You don't always need to be crouching around the map, right? So that's where moving fast comes into play, and just kind of getting to know those ranges when you can start sprinting again, when you don't need to be crouching. Sometimes it's effective to crouch, if you want to, if you don't want people to know you're there, if you want to get the jump on somebody, but you really just don't need to be crouching that much in this game, except for, specific moments. Oh, wow. 2 of these things right here? That's really fun. Oh, I got stuck on that. What an L. Alright, we're gonna just heal. I've never really seen that. Also, if you're bleeding or anything like that, see these dogs behind me? They didn't go off, even though I was running by them. If you're bleeding or anything like that, you can just use a health, just like I just did there. You don't have to stop the bleed first. Also, an example of what I was talking about early on, just jumping through this. Well, okay, it fails there, but you saw it the first time I did it. It's a lot quicker if you can just kind of get through it like that rather than vaulting over it, and you can keep your gun ready. So now we know boss is at fish, and that's within 3 minutes, and that's, that's pretty slow actually, considering we had the 2 spiky guys here. Like, a couple things happened that made it a little bit slower for us, that it would have been a lot faster. But that's just kind of what I mean when I say moving smart, moving fast, Oh, I think I hear birds. I don't really want to get in fights right now. I'm just trying to highlight a couple of things. I'm going to go over here and show you what I mean about the water. When I told you I frame timed that jump over at Reeker perfectly. I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about there. This is just a little movement tip. Oh, it's not going to let me over this, is it? What an L, dude. There it is. Okay. There's a good example of just things you can jump over. You kind of got to look for the divot in the fence. That's kind of where you can jump over it. But just a really nice way to not have to vault everything. Take this out just because it's making noise. Oh, wow. I have a lot of... Oh, right, because I got all the clues. I'm like, dude, how I have so many event points. So I kind of told you over at Port Reeker that I frame timed perfectly this jump to get out of water. So you can kind of do that. This isn't like the best spot to show it off, I guess. Let's try and like... jump off of something like this, or actually we'll go right here. So if you jump right when you hit the water, you're gonna skip like a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 steps of you running across the water. It's actually gonna save you quite a bit of time. So let's see if we can do it here. Jump here at the end of the dirt. Okay, boom, perfect, just like that. You see how we did that? We jumped right when we hit the water, and if you time that perfectly, you can skip a good amount of the water that you're wading through, which, it's a big deal, especially on this map, because there's just so much water. We did it again there. So that's kind of how you can do that to make your water a lot faster and a lot quieter. And again, that just kind of comes into play of what we're talking about here. Move fast, move smart. Don't need to be crouching around everywhere. We're just trying to move fast. We're getting clues quickly, and I've scared nothing. The only thing I scared were those 2 spiky guys, which you never really see on clues. We just got unlucky this match, but I've really scared nothing, and we've moved really fast. We already knew where boss was, and if I was just boss rushing, probably could have gotten there while they were fighting it and potentially had a chance to take them out because we're moving really fast and we're moving smart. That's kind of what I mean when I say that. Now, one other thing I wanted to show, just as far as like a little movement tip, not going to be a full like movement guide or anything, but just something to show, is the jump peak. So you kind of want to do this to get information. You can jump out, and what that does is, let's say there's somebody here or here, and they've got their crosshair trained on where your head would be. So they're kind of like watching, they're using crosshair placement. If you jump peek them to get info, they're not going to be able to, probably not going to be able to get that headshot on you because you're jumping and they're going to have to do this, or they're going to have to move their crosshair, or just because of the server, they're not going to be able to get you. So it's just a nice thing to do if you're going to peek like that. Don't just do this, or don't just like crawl out like this is the worst kind of peek you can do. You want to use jump peeks like pretty often if you can. Actually, literally the very first clip in this video, you'll see me do that. I'm on a roof and I'm looking up into a window, so I just go whoop, I jump across and I know exactly where he is, and then I just get the headshot on him. So you can reference the very first clip as well to kind of see that. But anyway, guys, those are just a few things I wanted to highlight. And remember this too, like you can be pretty close to these things. I don't have beast face or anything, and I can walk pretty close. Now, the way these work is you hear their sounds they're making. And you see how they move too? They're at the ready. You see how they move? They're at the ready. So that means they're about to fly. So maybe you're playing duos or trios. Sometimes you'll, let's say, walk by birds like this, but they're at the ready now. So you don't proc them, but if somebody else walks the same path, probably going to proc them because it's kind of like a meter. It's like a stealth meter almost. And this is filling up, filling up, filling up. And then your teammate walks by. See how I got too close like that? So if I had somebody behind me and I was walking by, I'd be fine. But if they were walking by me, they would proc them because it's kind of like a stealth meter. So again, that's one of the biggest things to know about in this game is sound traps, how they work, how close you can be to them to walk by, how close you can be and not have to crouch, or how close you can be to sprint. That's really important to know. Jump peeking, and then also our water jump. So those are 3 things I really wanted to highlight here. I'm going to get into some more specific parts of the tip now, but that's really what I wanted to highlight as far as the early game movement phase. So the next thing I want to talk about here is kind of pathing, how you would approach a compound. Now, this has been a really live server. I got the circus right behind me here. I already had to kill a team up there, and I just fought another team out here. Got one of them down. The other guy ran this way, so we're going to see how this goes. It's a super active server. We got bounty coming down to the circus, but I just kind of wanted to highlight, like, this is a really tough run-up, right? So I just want to talk about kind of pathing, how you'd approach a compound. You've got some nice cover here, so you can kind of use this for sure. But a lot of times what teams will do specifically here is hide in these windows, which I actually really like this compound for this. I think it's nice when defenders have, you know, a lot of peeks and options. But I think one of the best things you can do here, another example of a little thing you can just jump over, which is really nice. But I think what I would do here is definitely take these windows out. Usually I'll play silent, so I can do that pretty easily there. Oh, dude, is bounty here, man? Come on, bro. Oh, no, they're leaving. Okay, well, I only have a few minutes then. Oh, I thought I heard somebody. Dude, this is the worst. Okay. So what I would do is probably take that out. See if anybody peeks here. They might not. They might be pretty disciplined. But what you can do if you have fakes is come up like this. We can toss a fake in like this. That'll clear anybody out there. Get out a shotgun in case they want to push us. So we've kind of cleared this room out, which is nice. And one of my favorite jumps in all of Hunt Showdown is right here. Just a nice clean jump. You can just do a nice 90-degree turn there. And the really cool thing about Stillwater is all of these windows are ones you can jump out of super easily like that. And into super easily as well. Same with this one. Jump out. You can just move really nicely in this building in particular, which is why I love to hold this building down. Now, another nice little thing you can do here at Stillwater I don't see a lot of people doing. You can actually just run up these and get into the building here. And again, you can just jump in. You don't have to vault. You can just jump that. And I don't really see people use this area very often. I know it's not the best just because you don't have a ton of visibility into here from that angle, but I do think it's a pretty nice little spot that you can jump in. But basically, you just really want to be thinking about how you're approaching compounds. Another nice little dropout you can do here. Just if you need to get away, you can drop out and not take damage there. Another one here, you can jump out of this window. You can land on this or this and you don't take damage. Just a few really nice spots in this compound for you to rotate around really nicely. You know, stay in fights, don't take fall damage. A lot of really cool stuff there. But you really do have to kind of consider, like, you know, how you're going to approach this compound or any compound in general. Another little cool thing you can do is use these to get over. I don't know why I vaulted there. I really didn't need to. But you can look for little stuff like that. There's a ramp over here. You can get in, and then you can jump on these boxes to get out quickly. Just little things like that. But again, like, you can get stuck out here pretty easily because there's so much space between entrances. This happened to me in a game the other day. I just got stuck out here. A few teams out in the corn and stuff, and I just kind of got cooked out here. But, you know, that'll happen, especially at a compound like this. So you just really want to consider, like, okay, are we using jump peaks? Are we clearing, like, you know, are we clearing these windows? Are we utilizing something like a fake to get up here? Toss a nade in, push up these stairs pretty hard. Here's the guys I got, lol. But are we using fakes like that? You know, are we pushing up really hard. Let's say you get into a fight right here. Somebody comes out of this corner. You shoot him. He gets a good tag on you. Boom. You can just yeet out the window and you're right back in the fight. We did take fall damage there, but you won't if you land on this, or typically if you just vault out of this, you won't either. So unfortunately, this was a really live server, so I can't really show exactly what I want to show, like as kind of slowly or methodically as I would like to. But those are just a few things, and you can learn jumps like this pretty much everywhere on the map. You know, this is just one of them. I'll show a couple more. I think there's one at Lawson, one at, I think, Karmic. There's a few like that. I mean, they're all over the place, but this is literally my favorite one in all of Hunt. It's just so nice, so easy to make, and you can just really get the jump on people without them knowing you're here. So that's kind of a little guide in how you want to approach a compound. You really want to make sure you're clearing everything. Make sure you're using silent if you got it. If not, honestly, I would get rid of the windows. Check if anybody's there, because if you're just blindly running up here, and let's say you vault here, stuck in an animation, that guy pops out and just gets you immediately. Like, it's so easy. If you just run up right here and just vault without even checking or doing anything, you're just such an easy target, you know? So I'm going to try and get out of this match. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I do have a couple more things I want to show you, particularly, that's a difficult word to say, particularly on this map, but there's the guy still, oh yeah, there's the guy, he's still down. But I want to show you a couple more things. We're going to get out, try and stay alive, and then we'll get into another one here. So here we are at Fort Karmic. It is the shooting range version, so it's going to be a little different than the main game, but the spots that I'm showing you will be the same. So you'll be able to use them in-game as well. I just didn't really want to deal with players or fights or anything anymore. So the first one is right here. They actually updated this to make it significantly easier, but a lot of people didn't know about this in old Hunt, and you might still not know about it in new Hunt. So it used to be a jump up that you'd have to do, and it was a little jank kind of. You'd kind of have to like finesse your way up here a bit, and there was kind of some things you had to jump on here. But now they've made it a ramp. They've kind of made it officially a part of this map. But it's a really great way to approach rather than just coming in here. I mean, look at this. Look at this. When you come up here, you got the roof, you got this, you got that. There's so many different ways they could peek you, even up here. But with this, it's also a lot harder for them to shoot down on you from here. Like, they really have to commit to that position. So this is just like one of the better approaches from this side of Fort. Just come up here and boom, you're right in. Now we're going to go up here and I'll show you kind of a couple of the loops that I like to use to, again, just escape fights, stay alive, and just really kind of highlight some movement that's going to help you guys, hopefully, in some fights if you're in a pinch. But again, like I was saying when we were at Lawson, this isn't necessarily just a full-on movement guide. This is just the principle of, hey, be looking out for these spots, be playing around with this stuff, because it will really come in handy in your games while you're playing. So what we can do here is just drop right here, and if you land on things like this, you're just not going to take fall damage. So that's one really nice escape route from up here. You can just drop on this. It's a pretty easy jump to make and not take fall damage, and then you can just kind of disappear into one of these buildings. But same thing with this. This is one that I like to use a lot. So I'll come here, you take a hard right, you jump onto this, turn right hard, jump onto this, do a 180, flip around, come down, and then boom, you're in the bottom of this building and they don't even know where you went. Now, it is extremely situational, and it kind of depends on like how far back they are. If they're right on you, this might not work, but if they're a little ways back and they know you went out here, they're going to expect for you to go in here. So it really works. Maybe when they're at the elevator position, maybe they're back here, they get a hit on you from this position, you're kind of doing a little bit of this, you know, they get a tag on you, so you're like, okay, I'm out. So instead of just running in here, you can also do this. Boom, I'll show it to you again. Land on this, 180, land here, and you're right back underneath them and they don't know. Maybe these are already open or something. You can just rotate around up here really quickly and get an angle on them. Boom. That's just one I really like. It's a great loop. It's pretty easy to do, to be honest. It probably looks more difficult than it actually is. It's really easy. Just practice it a couple times. That's the nice thing about doing the shooting range as well. You don't have to worry about anybody around. You can just kind of play, work on these things. The last one I'll show you as far as any movement here is this. You can always come and drop on this. But that's going to take a bar almost every time. I think it does take a bar every time. However, if you see this little red thing here, you can land on that. Boom. And then you can drop down. And then what you can do is it's also a loop. So you can come up here, jump on that, vault up, and then you can either rush in here or just go right back up. Again, these are all fairly situational, but this can help, you know, and if you do this, I'm telling you, I almost guarantee you, somebody's going to follow you out, not know about this, and just rush off the edge. But if you come up here, you're getting chased, you're down health, you know this is here, you land on it, boom, you'd probably just drop down and keep going, but you can also just do this to kind of complete the loop. That's why I'm telling you. But the real escape ability there would probably just be dropping on that red thing, dropping here, doing it pretty quick, and then dropping here, and then dropping all the way down, and you're out. And most people are not going to know about that, man. That's the thing about movement in this game. Most people aren't utilizing it. Most people aren't doing any type of movement tech in the game. They're just kind of running and gunning, and that's totally fine. But if you have any of these things in your arsenal, if you take any bit of time to kind of learn some of these spots on maps and hide some of them away for when you're in fights and stuff, I'm telling you, it'll make a big difference and you'll win more fights. So that's going to do it for the movement tip section of our video today. And we're actually going to keep it right here at the fort for our next tip. So let's get right into it. So jumping into our next tip here, we're going to be talking about crosshair placement. Now, the first thing we're going to go over is how you have your crosshair actually set up. So if you come into your settings, very first setting in here, which is nice, is the crosshair position. I play on lowered because I'm a day one hunt player. This is how it was for years up until they made the engine switch. So this is just how it was. You just played lowered, that's what hunt was, and there was no option. But now you do have the centered option. So I'll kind of show you the difference here. I'll just zoom in. You can see how little of the screen the gun is taking up, which is why I still really like lowered. And I also only play hunt. If I was switching back and forth between a lot of games, like some of you may do, it probably makes sense to play centered just because that's what you're going to be the most used to. But for me, I just got so used to playing lowered and to having more screen real estate that when I tried to switch over to centered, it just didn't really work for me. But I would say probably generally speaking, it makes the most sense for most people to be on centered. But what happens with me, you see, it's already happening. What happens with me is when I go centered, I aim way too high. I'm so used to lowered that I can usually zoom in right about where you want to be, which is on somebody's neck, maybe right about their chin, their nose. Like that's kind of where you want to have your crosshair, generally speaking, because then you get a little bit of leeway. See how it's happening? Like every time I zoom in, I'm high because I'm so used to lowered position. So centered for me, this is just why it doesn't work. You know, I'd have to really play at it a lot to like get used to that switch. But again, I would say for most people, the general audience, centered is going to be your jam. But I'll switch back and kind of show you the difference of how much the gun takes. You see how much less that is? Like you're talking about this takes up like 33%, whereas obviously centered, it takes up about 50%. So I just like having a little bit more visibility, even when you're not aiming down sights. You just have a bit more visibility. Gun takes up a little bit less screen real estate, and I just really like that. You know, something like larger guns, like a full-size Crown or a Bomb Lance or whatever. Like you just, you know, you just have a lot more flexibility with a lowered state. But again, I'm not trying to say switch it. You know, I think for most people, centered is going to be just fine. But that's just the first thing to go over. Now, as far as crosshair placement, like I was saying earlier, you're going to want to have your crosshair right about here, chin, nose. And the reason for that is it gives you just a little bit of flexibility, okay? You want to have a little bit of leeway. So if your gun is swaying, whatever's happening, you're still right on their head. If you're aiming right here and see how the gun's swaying, I'm suddenly off. If I'm aiming here and the gun starts to drift up or down, I'm still right on their head area. So if you aim right around the nose, right around the direct center of the head, you just have a lot more flexibility when getting these shots. So one of the things as far as crosshair placement in game, I'll use this card again as a reference, but basically if I run up here, I'll show you guys where my head's at. It's essentially right here. It's like right on this. You'd probably be aiming right about here if you were in a fight. So let's say, again, we'll use this as another example. Let's say somebody is behind this card, okay? So where are you going to have your crosshair? You want to place it right where their head's approximately going to be. So we just ran up to it and our head was right about there. So that's where we want our crosshair. And also, you don't need to be tracking like this. If they're behind cover, unless you have something that can penetrate or FMJ or something, you really don't need to be worrying about where they are. What you want to do is set yourself up for success when they do peek. So where are they going to peek? It's going to be right about here. It's going to be right about there. So if you hold this angle, or maybe you're doing some of this, you know, you guys are in a fight, and you get this angle, and you know he's going to pop out here, just get ready and let him walk into it. He's going to be coming this way. You just let him walk into it. You give yourself just a little bit of extra space. Boom, right there, headshot. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Like, you don't need to be constantly tracking. This isn't a game where, you know, weapons are automatic and you need to just track, and that's like the biggest, most important thing. Most important thing is just lining up your shot, crosshair placement, and just getting ready, getting the drop on somebody. That's the best thing you can do. So there's a lot of referential things in the game that'll show you exactly where somebody's head height is. A lot of fence posts are going to be right around there. There's a perfect one in the shooting range right there. You see that metal corner right there? It's right where the guy's head's at. So you can start to see and start to learn some of these reference points. And then when you're in game, you can look out and see some of these things, this stack of boxes, right about where this guy's head is. So you can start to see some of that stuff. And of course, I missed the shot. You can start to see it and then use those as references for where you need to line your crosshair up. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, a lot of times in fights, I'm not even looking at the guy. I'm looking at my reference point. I'm looking at a fence post. I'm looking at this cart. That's how I'm aiming, you know, and you'll see that in the clips that we're going to go through. So there's just a couple things to kind of keep in mind. And last thing I want to highlight for the shooting range specifically, this is something I'll do a lot if I'm going to record, or, you know, if I'm going to play a little bit more competitively with my duos partner or something like that. I'll come in here and actually get used to like how I would be moving in a fight, and not just like standing here and doing this, because this is just not Hunt. Like, there's not many times where you're just going to be able to stand here and just like a shooting gallery shoot people like that. Most of the time you're going to be running, you're going to have, you know, people shooting back at you, you're going to be getting tags on you, you're going to be in a bleed state, like whatever the case may be. So you want to get used to kind of your strafe. You know, I'm somebody who came from competitive Halo, so that actually kind of hurts me in this game, because I got so used to a battle rifle. Battle rifles start in Halo, and with Halo it was 3 shots to the body, 1 to the head. And the headshot didn't have any damage modifier until the very last round, because they have shields. So you're actually taught in Halo to shoot at the body first, and once you get 3 tags on the body, then you go to the head, because the headshot is no different. And it's a burst rifle. So if you're shooting at the head and you miss a couple of rounds in your first few spreads, you're not going to be able to 4-shot the other player. And that's just how Halo works. So I got really used to that in competitive Halo, and it's taken me a while to get used to, like, okay, you just got to shoot the head. You just got to shoot the head. But that's why the shooting range is really helpful, because you can come in here and kind of act like, okay, I'm fighting a team here. I need to dodge. I need to crouch. I need to use this cover. I need to pop out. I need to be quick. Like, you can really get to learn how to kind of strafe and avoid people just by practicing in here, you know. And another thing about Hunt, you know, so that you're not getting a headshot while we're on the subject, always be moving, man. Always be moving, okay? If you're doing this in Hunt, you're probably going to die, especially as you get better at the game, you get in higher tier lobbies. Like, this kind of stuff is okay, you know, this kind of stuff's okay in really, like, low star MMR, but once you get into 6-star MMR, you're going to be getting clapped if you do that. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to learn how to do a lot of this stuff, how to strafe around, how to use cover, how to use jump peaks to get information, pop out, get a headshot. Like, this is kind of how it starts to be played in higher level games. And if you're not doing that, you're going to be at an extreme disadvantage. So again, just to go over, you want to use reference points. You want to figure out your crosshair position, what works best for you. Use reference points in the world, and then make sure you're avoiding getting headshot by using strafes and by using movement and all kinds of stuff to just make yourself a hard target. You know, a lot of people are not accustomed to somebody running at them like this, you know, and if you do that and you can just get a little closer and maybe get yourself an easier shot, like, and it's not the easiest thing to do. You'll see me missing shots because it's actually kind of hard to, like, reposition yourself. But man, if you can get good at this, like, you're going to be really hard to shoot, and you're going to be really good in these close quarter fights, or just in fights in general. So anyway, let's not belabor this too much. Let's get right into gameplay, and I'm going to start walking through some clips that illustrate these points. So jumping into this fight, I want you guys to pay attention to how I'm using the reference points. We spot a guy here, and we use that box just like you saw right there. We nearly get him. He runs away to our left, but we remember that box as a reference point for when the teammate drops, and then all we do is just line up the headshot a little outside of that reference point, like we said, and he walks right into our shot. So here my teammate and I are pushing in on a bounty, trying to get this team down, and you're going to see me use one of them as a reference so that I can then kill the next one when they peek. So I do a hard peek here, knowing they're to my left. I get a good tag on the first one. I use him as a reference point. They're both over there. He pops out. I already knew where his head was going to be. Easy kill on him. So this is a great example of not only using a reference point like this fence post or this cart, but also taking a little bit of extra time to line up your shot and guarantee a headshot. We're going to see a zombie coming in, so I have an idea of where the head's going to be. This guy comes in, he stops literally right as I'm going to get him. I pop into cover for a half a second, just knowing that they're going to be looking for me. Just take a little bit of extra time to line up this headshot there and get the teammate down. Here we find ourselves in a tough situation. Our teammate's gone down. We don't have any chokes or nades or anything like that. There's a guy that's running around in there, so we're using these reference points on the wall to try and figure out where his head's going to be. Then when he does pop out, we do get him, but he's a solo, so we have to take action quickly like I've talked about. Rush across, get this trap down, get our shotgun out, and finish the fight. So here you're going to see just how useful it is to take a little bit of extra time to really line up those shots. Make sure you're getting a headshot. So we hear a team coming towards us. I'm going to spot the first one, let him go. I usually like to take out the straggler on a team if I can. So that's exactly what we do here. We take a little bit of time, line up the shot, ping his body so we know right where he is. This guy's jumping around. We just take our time, take another shot, get another headshot, team wiped. So for this last section, we're going to take everything we've learned, starting with our hotkeys, considering our loadout, using our loadout, the proper range, using the tools, consumables, rotates, how to line up our headshots, how to strafe, how to be a hard target. All the things we've learned are going to come into this section, which is, again, making plays, trusting yourself. You don't need to crouch. You don't need to sit in a corner. You can try new things. Try some of these rotates. Try some of these jump spots. Try using surefoot. Grab a nade. Run at somebody. Toss it at them. Rotate around a building, get a tag on somebody, keep the pressure on. That's what I want you guys to take away from this, is to try. Be the aggressor, start learning how to play more, because that's the only way you're going to get better. You are not going to get better sitting in a corner waiting for something to happen. You make things happen this game. You dictate the pace. You dictate how fights go, and you're going to start winning a lot more fights. So let's get right into it. We're going to walk through some of these plays, and I'll show you exactly what I mean about trusting yourself and making plays. So jumping right in here, this is a continuation of the headshot you just saw me get. Now the teammate's coming up to try and get a res, and I've actually misplayed. I've overextended. I'm in a bad spot. Hive coming after me. I have to take care of that. The teammate's going to get a tag on me, and I'm in a real sticky situation. But I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to stay in the fight. I'm going to make a play. Making myself a hard target, strafing around, and use muscle memory to get the quick headshot. So here's a very situational fight. I know I have bulwark. I'm trying to get this necker off, but this guy's got a nade coming my way. I know I can tank it, so I run a little bit away from it, use surefoot and my hotkeys, pull out my heal, then use my hotkey to pull out my shotgun, and I'm ready to take this guy out when he pushes me. Here we find ourselves in a terrible position. We have this meathead barreling down on us. I close the door to shut him out, buy myself an extra second. There's a team right outside. I'm going to hard peek here, get one of them down. I'm going to go for a fake peek, turn this lantern off so I don't get burned. Meathead comes in and poisons me. This guy literally has a firebomb, so I get burned anyway, but I don't panic. I stay in the fight, and I wipe this team. Here I find myself a ways back from my teammate, and there's a team barreling down on me right now. I'm anticipating they're going to come over this mound. I get ready for that. We unfortunately don't get the kill on our first shot. We get lit on fire. We don't panic though. We see the other one coming around the corner. Try and go for a heal to stop the burn, thinking that one might stay back. He doesn't, but we just stay in it and get him down. Here our teammate's just gone down, so we need to act fast so we don't get pushed super hard. We're going to grab our nade and toss it into the window. Our teammate just went down. We do end up getting this guy up in the window. He bleeds us. Instead of holding F, we just hotkey over to our heals, heal ourselves. We have another one pushing us hard. We're going to scan, see where he is, and just decide to rush him and take him out with us.
Yes!
Boom, gamers. That is going to be it for this one. I hope that you got something out of this video. I hope that there's at least one thing that you can take away. I know it's a long video, but like I was saying in the very beginning, my hope is that you're going to come back to this, reference it, use it over time, use it when you're in a rut. But I'm telling you guys, if you put all these things together, you will start to dominate the bayou. You will start to win more fights, win more games, get out with the bounty more, and just have more fun. And I promise you that you will have more fun if you implement these things. If you start to make things happen, you're going to have cool highlights and clips like this. You're going to have things that you can look back on and go, wow, look at the fruits of my labor, so to speak. Look at how I've developed in this game, and that's going to be really fun for you. So again, I'm going to do my best to kind of timestamp all this and make it as helpful and useful as possible. And like I say, I hope there's at least one thing you haven't heard of in here. I tried to do my best to really walk through it and really go deep for you guys to help you to learn as much as you possibly can. But like I say, guys, that is going to be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one, gamers. Peace.